learn increment techniques in JavaScript. With an understanding of loops, we started to increment our variables quite often. Right here I have a simple example of increment techniques. I declare a variable counter with initial value of 0, and then until our counter reaches the number of 10, I increment counter by 1 and log the result in the console. And in the console we have several logs from cycle 1 to cycle 10. But in JavaScript we have shorthands that are extremely common. Let's assume that I have a variable of counter and I need to increase it by 5. I can achieve that with a line like counter equal counter plus 5. But I also have a shorthand for the same code, which is counter plus equal 5. Both these lines do absolutely the same thing, and the upper one is a shorthand. But that's not the end. Have a look at another example. Now we have a counter and we want to increase it by 1. We can use the first method, which is counter equal counter plus 1, or we can use the second method, which is counter plus equal 1. But this situation in JavaScript, when we need to increase a counter by 1, is so common that we have the third method, and our third method is counter plus plus. All these three line of codes do absolutely the same thing. They increment the counter by 1 and save the result in the counter. But we also can do the same thing with decrementation. In order to decrease the counter by 5 every cycle, we just need to replace the plus sign to a minus sign. And the same thing in the second method. We just replace plus equal sign to minus equal sign. And the same if we need to decrement the counter by 1. So we can use counter minus minus instead of the counter plus plus. Let's try to do the same thing in the code. As I said, I can replace this line of counter equal to counter plus 1 to something like counter plus equal 1. And if I save the file, we see absolutely the same result in the console. I might change this number to something like 2, because we remember that the second method works with all the range of numbers. Instead of 1, we can use 2 or 10 or whatever number you want. So if I save the file, now we see only even numbers in the console. Let's also try to use counter plus plus. And if I save the file, you see that we have absolutely the same outcome that we had before. And once you get used to, you will find that it's much more easier to write and to read. And you will want to use counter plus plus instead of counter equal counter plus 1. And let's also test the decrementation. So I change our initial value to 10. And I changed the condition to counter is more than 0. In this case, we might use counter minus minus, and I saved the file, and right now you see that we have cycle 9 to cycle 0. And for example, I might also try counter minus equal 1, and we have the same result. Or I can change this number to 2, and right now you see only even numbers in the console. In the next video, we will learn about for loops, where our new knowledge will be very useful.